What's the word, people? Welcome to the inaugural episode of What's the Word. I am one half of your host, Sherman Hall, aka Sherm, and I'm here with my friend and co-host, Mr. Ron Ricketts. What's going on, man? Good to see you.
What's going on, man? Good to see you too. It's like I'm glad to be here. Excited to try something new. I'm looking forward to working with you.
All right, great. For you guys that don't know, What's the Word is a show by the fans for the fans, covering a variety of sports as well as entertainment, and breaking down the latest news and highlights, and giving you our perspective on what's happening in the world of sports and entertainment today.
To touch base on what we're about and trying to accomplish, each episode of What's the Word will let us showcase the facts and give our opinions about the latest events. Sherm will give his New York perspective, and I'll give my Maryland ideas and bring them to light. We invite all of our fans to comment and give us our feedback on the show, as well as their own personal thoughts on any topic that we cover. You ready to get this going, Sherm?
Man, I'm ready. Let's get it cracking.
Well, let's get it done.
Cool. Coming up first, the 2018 college football season is finally getting underway. The AP poll was recently released. Of course, we got the Alabama Crimson Tide at number one once again for the third consecutive year. Only other school to accomplish that feat was the Oklahoma Sooners. This is Alabama's actually ninth straight season opening in the top three. They're followed by number 2 Clemson Tigers and the number 3 Georgia Bulldogs, the defending SEC champs. At number 4, we've got Wisconsin ahead of Ohio State at number 5, which caught a lot of people by surprise. Could this be due to the Urban Meyer issue? We'll get into that later on in the show. But Ronnie, let me ask you this. Alabama number 1 again. You know, they've lost a lot of talent to the NFL. Some folks think that actually Clemson should be ahead of them. You know, they've got that unique quarterback battle between Tua and Jalen. Yeah. Where do you see Alabama right now?
I do see them at number 1. I don't disagree with that. However, the Jalen and Tua situation, my nod probably would say go with Tua, simply because that he had the same time to prepare for Jalen. But when he was called upon and it was his time to shine, he came in through a half of a football game and won the biggest game of his career, hands down.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, you know, winning is everything, and that's what Alabama is expected to do, and that's what he got done.
Absolutely.
So only time will tell. You know, Nick Saban will let us know as soon as he figures it out himself.
Absolutely, absolutely. I personally think Jalen will get the nod at quarterback to start the year, and Tua will actually take over because Jalen's going to be on a short lease. And as you said, Nick Saban, he'll announce it when he wants to announce it. Number 2, Clemson, of course. You know, some people favored actually to win the national championship game. Vegas actually has him as a 4-1 favorite, according to the Las Vegas Superbook. Now, they're led by that defensive line who actually has the potential of being drafted in the first round altogether. Do you think Clemson will be there at the end of the season, Ron?
Absolutely. I firmly believe that because I think they're an explosive team. They're outstanding offense. Their defense is dominant. And they just know how to win.
Yeah, and Dabo Swinney has definitely brought the swag back to Clemson.
No question.
Number 3, Georgia Bulldogs, obviously the runner-up to the national championship game. They're led by their sophomore quarterback, Jake Fromm. Now, Coach Kirby Smart has done a great job since arriving in Georgia. I think this is the beginning of great things to come for that program.
Absolutely. I think Kirby Smart is definitely an outstanding coach, and he's doing a great thing with the Bulldogs, and I think he's got Fromm on the right track on possibly, who knows, maybe being a Heisman candidate.
Oh, all right. All right, I like it. I like the prediction, Ron. The number 4, Wisconsin Badgers, as I mentioned earlier, might have taken a couple people by surprise. They did receive one first-place vote. But, you know, Wisconsin, I don't think they're the 4th best team in the country right now. Like I said, I think they might just be ahead of Ohio State because of the issue with Urban Meyer. So they had to replace somebody in the Big Ten with another team. Yeah. So I think Wisconsin, they'll have another good year, but I don't see them as the 4th best team in the country right now.
Yeah, and I agree with that statement. I don't see them as the 4th best as right now because, like I said, they were predicted to possibly lose like they did last year, and they had a great season until they got up to the end of the season when the competition really got stout pretty much. So, you know, only time will tell. And maybe, like I said, it's too early to see what really going to happen. But
Absolutely. Rounding out the top 5, we have Washington at number 6, followed by the Oklahoma Sooners at number 7. And then we've got Miami, Auburn, and Penn State, respectively. Now, Oklahoma's got a unique situation. They've got to replace their Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, Baker Mayfield. You got the redshirt junior, Kyler Murray. He's 5'10", is an athletic guy who can actually run the field. You know, and really, we're not sure how long he's going to be around, Ron. He's actually been drafted by the Oakland A's in Major League Baseball. So, who knows? You may have him for this 1 year, and that's it. You may have to look again. I mean, what do you feel about the Oklahoma Sooners going into the year?
I feel as though they're going to have to make a very quick decision because that one decision can possibly affect their whole entire season.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the other unique situation I feel, you've got Penn State with Trace McSorley leading their way, their senior quarterback. who's really a proven winner. I think Coach Franklin has done an excellent job with Trace, putting him in the right situations, putting him in the perfect schemes to let him succeed. And really, this is going to be a different year for them because they've got to replace their star running back, Saquon Barkley, who went to the NFL draft. Now, you've got Miles Sanders taking over. He's a unique, speedy back who I think can do a lot of things. But Trace, caught a lot of people by surprise. Some people are actually putting him into possibly a Heisman Trophy candidacy race. ESPN's Kirk Herbstreit actually called him the 2018 version of Baker Mayfield. Not with any negative aspect, of course, just his abilities to win and do the things he does on the field. I mean, do you think Penn State, Trace McSorley can lead them to the victory again?
I honestly do firmly believe that Trace McSorley can get it done. He's a proven winner. He's a very valid leader, and he's been battle tested. So basically, with all that aspect of it, he could still get it done as far as making the plays down the field, scoring at will when he needs to score at the last possible minute. The fact is that running game going to help him to kind of keep the offense balanced how he was used to last season?
Absolutely. Now, we've got some key matchups in the first week of the 2018 college football season. A unique game is Louisville at the number 1 Alabama Crimson Tide, where Coach Bobby Petrino of the Louisville Cardinals actually recently almost pretty much guaranteed a victory. I think he's got to slow down. You are facing Alabama, but we'll see what happens there. We've got Washington visiting number 9 Auburn Tigers. Now, Auburn has their returning quarterback, Jarrett Stidham, but Washington, I think, is led by their running back, Myles Gaskin, who's a very, very dynamic player. Now, of course, people say they're led by their quarterback, Jake Browning, who's very talented as well, too. But I think Myles Gaskin is going to come out and surprise some people and actually might even lead the league in rushing this year.
Yeah, it's very possible, but it's also up to, is the Washington defense capable of stopping that tricky Auburn offense? Because, you might think that you got them down pat, and then they're always coming out with a wrinkle.
Right. Absolutely.
It's hard to say.
Absolutely. We've got a bit of an old school rivalry being renewed this weekend as well, too. Number 14, Michigan at number 12, Notre Dame. Now, Michigan recently announced that their quarterback, Shea Patterson, will get the nod, the Ole Miss transfer. Now, I think this is the year that Jim Harbaugh really needs to step up with his program, and a lot of hype's been surrounding him ever since he arrived in Ann Arbor from the NFL. I think this is the year that Michigan really needs to make a statement, not only in the Big Ten, but in the college football world. I think that Michigan has a lot of potential to do some good, but this is the year they've got to get it done.
Yeah, no question. I think that they're saying that they're going to win this game before the game's even won, but they need to make this very first game of the week of the season that they play that this is a statement game.
Absolutely.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it, because if they don't, they're not going to take the coach serious for the rest of the year. Then things could go downhill for them.
Absolutely. Another game we're looking at is number 8 Miami versus the number 25 LSU Tigers. Now, of course, last year Miami had a great year, started off hot and kind of simmered down towards the end of the season. Now that turnover chain, I'm sure, will be back for the Miami Hurricanes.
Question.
So they're pride on that defense. Now Ed Orgeron, obviously, it might be in a little bit of a hot seat, the LSU. So I think Miami will take the nod in this game. I think Miami is definitely coming back to where they were. The U is going to be represented in this game very strongly. I think Miami is going to surprise some folks this year. Might even finish in the top 3, but I guess that's wait to be seen. So we'll see what happens there.
I think the game is actually going to be a lot closer than a lot of people might think, just because of the rankings. You know what I'm saying? Miami's ranked really high. LSU's squeaking right in there. If they go for team speed, if you compare that on the same level, LSU's a fast team. So is Miami. However, at the end of the day, is Miami still going to be able to make those plays down the field like they did last year?
Only time will tell. All right. Last matchup we're looking at this week is the number 20th ranked Virginia Tech Hokies facing the number 19 Florida State Seminoles. Now, I know Virginia Tech's got some holes to fill on the defensive side, especially with their D-backs, 3 of which won't be with the team this year, 1 due to injury. Florida State, I feel like they're back where they want to be. They're coming back up, being that limelight. And what do you think about this game?
Actually, Sherm, this is one of the games that I actually had circled out of the whole entire matchup in the top 25.
Really?
Yeah, because I honestly think that Florida State has a lot to prove. They got the new coach in Willie Taggart, good fundamental coach, and he's going to get the young guys back on track. And, the return of DeAndre Francois, I think that makes a world of a difference for the team, and it's on the up and up from that. So
absolutely. All right. Coming up next, we'll stay on college football and discuss the current situation at Ohio State and surrounding Coach Urban Meyer. So stay tuned. If anyone has been following the latest college football news, then you know what is happening at Ohio State with head coach Urban Meyer, who was recently suspended for the first 3 games of the 2018 season after initially being placed on an administrative leave. Now, he's been suspended for failing to uphold school standards and misrepresenting what he knew about the allegations surrounding former assistant coach Zach Smith for abuse allegations against his spouse, Courtney Smith. Now, the first 3 games that Urban Meyer will miss are games against Oregon State, Rutgers, and number 16 TCU, which in my opinion was all a scheme to that way make sure he's back for their 5th game of the year against number 10 Penn State. I personally feel that it was more of a slap on the wrist than a real punishment. He should have suspended at least 6 games, if not the entire season. I personally feel that this was just a stunt to just show something that they're doing something, but they wanted to make sure he was back in time for that game against Penn State. He gets 1 game back before that. He gets him back in the groove, and he gets to go ahead and gets Penn State into the Lions. Now, I mean, Urban Meyer, he's a well-respected coach before this, I guess you would say. He has a great resume. But, I mean, this was just really the school just doing something because they knew they had to do something.
Yeah, Sherm, I just wanted to stop you right there. That's where I kind of want to chime in and let it known. I think the punishment reflects his reputation. It also reflects the reputation of the type of coach that he is and also the type of school that Ohio State wants to be.
Okay.
They want to look good in the media, they want to look good in front of everybody, and they want to be good at football. So the bottom line is they don't want to punish what's going to make them good and get those wins and then come back and say that, hey, we want to plug you in right here and just expect you to win the rest of the season and win out. Mm-hmm. I don't see that happening, so exactly what you explained is exactly what I think they're trying to do. That's because, he's getting a slap on the wrist, he's getting punished in front of the media, but he's also getting his team back in the reins to where he could take control and still not really skip a beat.
Absolutely. Now, the big thing everyone was talking about was his latest press conference where he seemed robotic,
yes,
unapologetic. He really stuck to the script. It was I understand he wanted to make sure he got his message across and said his words carefully, but the whole entire time throughout that press conference, he never mentioned Courtney Smith's name once. Never mentioned her by name. He apologized to Buckeye Nation. He made his comment where a reporter asked him, "What do you have to say to Courtney Smith?" And he said, and I quote, "I'm sorry we're in this situation." Never issued an apology to Courtney Smith until recently, just a few days ago. He actually came out on his Twitter feed and apologized to Courtney Smith and her family and her children. But to me, if you're going to apologize, stand up, apologize to everyone, to her face, if it's not over a phone call or something, and actually give her a genuine apology.
Exactly.
This was just, he was being forced by the media because he seemed mundane in his approach at the press conference. I mean, how do you feel? Did it come across like genuine, and did you think he was sincere?
I think, honestly, for knowing the type of person, for all the other interviews that, Urban Meyer has done in the past, football related, and what he's shown that's obvious for what he did for the apology, it's like 2 different people. So, honestly, to me, it seemed like it was forced. It was very robotic, as they quote and say, and I think, honestly, it should have been handled in a different situation.
Absolutely. I think even ESPN's Paul Feinbaum called it a cheap PR stunt.
Exactly.
I mean, this was just something basically just to show face. I still just don't think Urban Meyer just doesn't get it, doesn't realize the severity of the situation. And anything like this occurs, whether it's allegations, anything, you have to speak up, you have to do more and step up to the plate. Absolutely. So when we come back, our last topic today will be on the University of Maryland and surrounding their controversial head football coach, DJ Durkin. So stay tuned, we'll be right back. So with the University of Maryland football program in the hot seat surrounding head coach DJ Durkin and the controversy there, who's recently been placed on administrative leave due to amid a toxic culture, quote, against the football program. Now, DJ Durkin, he's been with Maryland since 2016. He has an overall record of 10-15 with the program. He actually coached under Urban Meyer at Bowling Green for 2 years and Florida for a year. So it's kind of ironic that both of these coaches have some issues going into this season. Now, everything started, of course, with the death of offensive lineman Jordan McNair in this offseason after he collapsed doing 110-yard sprints in practice and was placed in the hospital and passed away 2 weeks later. Now, of course, this is obviously a big deal, of course. Now with the culture and the aspect of the football program coming under fire, being a bullying program and just humiliating and verbal abuse of players, as they had called it, this is, a big deal. Being that, we've both played football, we've both coached in our time. I don't think that every program does this, but I think there is some level of degree of similarity to this.
Absolutely.
Where coaches are hard on kids and really, going after them in practice and in games, and, maybe some sort of verbal abuse is happening. But, DJ Durkin, I think, just has to do better. The program really has to do their investigation and really find out what's going on here. I mean, do you feel that, Durkin will be back with this team, and how do you think Maryland will rebound from this?
Honestly, it's very tough to say. This case is a lot different than the Ohio State case because simply you got a death on your hands, and that is very, very serious any way you look at it for any amount of schooling, sports, of any such.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, they basically got a different approach than it would be for, Urban Meyer's case, or, in this case, DJ Durkin. It's kind of like, yeah, maybe he lied about covering, knowing of what was going on in the situation, but then again, he had to have known something.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to fall back on is the reputation of the school again. See, Ohio State's reputation it's like a compare and contrast type of thing. I want to say Ohio State simply because, they're known for having a solid football program.
Right.
Maryland, before you bring all these well-coached and good coaches back to the sports programs that's in the school, it's known for an academic school. Mm-hmm. So they want to keep sure that their academics is right, but also having, their players for whatever sport they may be still be in line and follow those guidelines that they need. Now that they got DJ Durkin at Maryland, he's a good football background and his knowledge of what he's doing. However, the whole situation, is really under the microscope, and I think it's going to be very, very hard for Maryland to bounce back from this one because it's involving the head coach, the athletic director, and the whole entire school pretty much, So
yeah, I mean, this is something that will go on for quite some time. I
absolutely.
think they've got to really look into the situation. Of course, when players really speak up and feel that this is not a good environment for them, you have to look into it. You have to find out, get to the bottom of things. And just recently, it's come about where DJ Durkin perhaps maybe have hired a lawyer to rep two former players against sexual assault abuse, with athletic department funds. So there's a lot of different things happening with DJ Durkin, and then even the former athletic director, Kevin Anderson, who was initially had taken the fall for some of the other allegations. But, Maryland said it was him, but now it could possibly be that DJ Durkin was involved. A lawyer, actually, attorney Donald Maurice Jackson, actually said he was hired by DJ himself.
Yeah.
And he had minimal contact with former athletic director Kevin Anderson. So DJ Durkin is definitely himself under the hot seat. They've got to look at the program as a whole and see what they want to do there. But, I don't see him actually coaching at all this season. Will he be terminated? That's something they've got to look at. I mean, how do you feel? Do you think he deserves to be back at the program, or he should be gone?
This is honestly one that's really tough to call. People want to pull the trigger on a lot of things and to say, hey, it's automatic termination. But realistically, you got to hear his side. You got to hear all sides of the story pretty much. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's a very, 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 very serious case. But at the end of the day, none of us was actually there.
Absolutely. So I guess we'll find out when the time comes. Well, folks, that wraps up episode 1 of What's the Word. Again, I am your host, Sherman Hall, a.k.a. Sherman, with my man, Ronnie Ricketts. Thanks so much for being here, man. I appreciate you. Looking forward to keeping doing this every week, and we'll be back with more content later on the show. Be sure to check out our channel, What's the Word, and we'll be back with more exciting news and highlights throughout the year. Thank you so much.
Thank you.